Hello and welcome. In this webinar, we are going to look at how schools can support students remotely with their formal and non-formal education in a time of uncertainty, and when we eventually reach the end of the COVID-19 global pandemic. Since 2017, we have been working with the Duke of Edinburgh International Award Foundation to offer our schools new ways to broaden their curriculum. Both our organisations believe that learning should not be confined to the classroom, but should also take place in the school environment and wider community. Many Cambridge schools tell us that they want to provide students with an opportunity to develop so-called soft skills, such as leadership, teamwork, and confidence. By offering the award as a framework for non-formal education alongside the academic Cambridge programmes, schools are able to provide students with a more holistic education. In this webinar, we are going to hear some examples of best practice from 3 Cambridge international schools, which are also award centres. We asked the schools to tell us why they are doing the award and what impact it is having on their school and on students' academic progress and motivation, what skills they think are important for students to continue to develop, whether they are learning in school or remotely, and how teachers and parents can support this. In what ways their students' involvement in the International Award has helped them and others during the pandemic. And we also asked our guests to tell us how they are preparing for the transition back to school and how they are supporting students with this transition. My name is Paul Ellis and I'm Head of Teaching and Learning at Cambridge Assessment International Education. I'm going to be introducing each of the schools in turn as we go through this webinar. It's now my pleasure to introduce Sam Williams, Director of Operations for the Duke of Edinburgh's International Award Foundation. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you, Paul. Great to be here, and thanks for the opportunity to be part of this important webinar exploring how Cambridge schools can combine really effective formal education with high impact and relevant non-formal education and learning. Before Paul introduces our fantastic case studies, who all in different ways helped embody the partnership between our 2 organisations, I've been asked to briefly give an overview of the award and our collective response to COVID-19. My name is Sam Williams, the Director of Operations at the Duke of Edinburgh's International Award Foundation. The Foundation is the global charity that oversees the management of the award around the world. We exist to do 3 things. First thing is we license and support operators around the world to ensure and maintain quality throughout the network. The second thing we do is really celebrate and recognise young people's achievements by issuing awards and encouraging young people to dream big and find their purpose, passion and place in the world. The third and final aim or existence of our organisation is to champion and advocate for the benefits of both individual and societal good non-formal education and learning. We passionately that not all learning happens in the classroom. And yes, of course, Cambridge provide a brilliant set of formal education, but we believe that's half the story, and that's why the award is fundamental to young people's futures. The award today operates in more than 130 countries and territories around the world, and over 1 million young people take part in the award every year. So let's briefly look at the award framework. The award's been operating for more than 63 years now, and in that time, despite understandable innovations and the digitalisation of how we operate, the fundamentals of the framework have remained really unchanged. There are 4 sections, and 5 at gold, and 3 levels, bronze, silver, and gold. The voluntary service section encourages young people to give service to their community over a period of time, thus enabling them to experience the benefits of giving time to others and supporting their community, either through supporting in local hospitals or providing first aid, or indeed providing sports coaching opportunities. The second section is physical recreation, encouraging young people to participate in sport or other physical recreation for the improvement of their own health, fitness and well-being. The third is a skill, encouraging young people to really develop their personal interests, creativity or practical skills for life. And the fourth, and probably the thing that most people associate with the award, is the adventurous journey, the section that we encourage young people to create a sense of adventure and discovery whilst undertaking a team journey. Young people do this as a part of a small team, and they plan, train, and undertake a journey with a purpose in an unfamiliar environment. And at Gold, young people go out and expand their horizons, working with others in a residential setting. Turning to our organisational response to COVID-19, we've been working hard over the last 3 months with licensed operators from across the world, in government settings or indeed NGOs, to come up with ways to ensure that organisations can stay active and ultimately young people can continue to complete their award at home. There are 4 different ways in which we've responded. The first one is around temporary programme changes and guidance materials that we've issued to organisations that are licensed to deliver the award. These changes focus on ensuring that young people can stay completing activities at home within either initially isolation measures and now predominantly social distancing measures in many countries around the world. And these include changes to some of the timeframes that young people can submit their activities, enabling volunteering at home, albeit with an assessor that is outside of at home through online measures, developing a virtual version of our Adventurous Journey activity using different Google Classroom platforms and guidance materials, and other such changes to really encourage organisations to make sure that young people are able to continue to develop those skills of persistence and determination and resilience that we talked about earlier. Big area has been around doing the award from home, as we call it. And we've developed a series of webinars and guidance materials that is really designed to inspire young people to kind of stay active, to stay in touch with each other, and really do many of the things that they were doing at school in a home setting. And I know that some of the examples from the case studies later on shine a light on some of this fantastic work. The third area is developing some of the resources that we have developed to support organisations that are licensed to deliver the award. So one of the best examples of this is a whole series of online training that we're in the process of developing for adults, some of which we've developed and some that is about to come. And that is supplementing, not replacing, face-to-face workshops that we deliver to train adults that exist to support young people through their award journeys. And finally, we've been working really hard with partners to advocate for change. Now, we know that the initial emergency response to COVID-19 was focused on the health response, absolutely and correctly. But we've been talking to partner organisations about what's next for young people. What does COVID-19 mean for the long-term implications on development of young people and education systems in countries, and working in collaboration with the big 6 youth organisations, so the Red Cross and Red Crescent movements, the World Scouting Organisation, the Girl Guides and the YMCA and so on, as well as the UN agencies, working closely with all of those organisations to make sure that we can all work together to make sure that post-COVID-19 response is the right one for young people's development. And finally, before we turn to the case studies, just wanted to share some inspiration, really, of some really quite extraordinary stories coming out of award operators from around the world. So we have young people, bronze participants in the Philippines who've been working to volunteer their time to provide support to really vulnerable, disadvantaged groups of young people by providing hand sanitizer to their communities. We have examples, and there's thousands of examples of this, of a young person there boxing at home on their own in Australia. We have a group of young people in Indonesia who are handing out basic essential services to disadvantaged and particularly vulnerable communities in remote areas. Young people in China who obviously have been dealing with this for the longest period of time, designing graphics and visuals to support key workers in communities. And finally, an example of a young person in Bermuda supporting their classroom, their junior colleagues through Zoom, and teaching them to support and play the violin. So they're just some inspiration of extraordinary activities going on around the world, and we hope that many more schools and organisations will take up the opportunity to continue to deliver the award. Thank you.
Our first guest is Mr. Stuart Ellis, Dean and Head of High School at Singapore National Academy in Surabaya, Indonesia. Welcome, Stuart.
Welcome. It's nice to meet everybody. Here at SNA, we are a campus in Indonesia, Surabaya, the second city, and we have been following the award, the framework, for over 7 years, becoming the largest IAC independent award center within the country. You'll see me here with the team. So I here at this stage would like to emphasize the importance of a team for the award, as in building staff capability and retention. Indeed, as the head of school, I have noticed the benefits of telling potential teachers of the award, and it also helps with the retention of quality staff. Indeed, professionals within education should see supporting the award as job enrichment rather than job enlargement. So I have seen, in fact, during this pandemic, while hiring people, and the importance of the holistic curriculum as a school to attain good staff and to retain it. Here's a picture of my team. We have above 15 award leaders at the school, and I do believe strongly that it helps to foster great teamwork within a school, be it any school, especially a Cambridge international school where you do usually have quite a high turnover. If we look at the sections of the award, and under any circumstances, I have always found that the service, and I prefer to call it service learning, is for me by far the most impactful section of the award. It helps that we have a certain framework, and it fosters students to do an activity which they would normally not do. Most students would usually do some kind of sporting activity or skill-based activity, but here this framework and this section really emphasizes the importance of students working with others and having some kind of service learning. I emphasize service learning because within that I believe it fosters a more holistic curriculum where the students will be building their own self-responsibility and self-regulation, and from the activities they do, building certain self-efficacy, which all will support certainly self-resiliency. And I believe during this pandemic and the corona situation, this is indeed emphasized the need of not only IQ, but the importance of EQ and SQ, the social quotient and emotional quotient. So as a school, during this time, I believe we've been able to emphasize how by doing the award, we are able to still have a holistic curriculum and not only be focusing on planning lessons to convey syllabus and knowledge. So this section of the award has really enabled this. And during the pandemic, the students have been able to coordinate service learning opportunities such as mass making, such as cooking and delivering parcels. So it's really been great to have that connection with the community. Skills are usually developed by most people, and students will usually be doing some co-curricular or some aspect outside of the school. However, having the award and being able to cooperate with other stakeholders enables you to have a stronger framework. So when we get used to working digitally and actually in the preparation of working online, if you have a framework like the award, it really helps you to think about a deeper impact on how to plan certain activities. So for example, if we're talking about variety within skills, you might be working with organizations like Toastmasters on public speaking. You might have a stakeholder like we do, Expat Indonesia, where the students are working online and can still make a digital magazine. Here, there's an aspect of they are talking about students working online during the pandemic and going beyond academics. So you have a very strong framework like the award with certain smart targets. It enables you as an organization to offer that variety. But when you are thinking of working online, it does give you certain benchmarks and smart targets to work towards to help you with the planning. So right now, when we are planning for 2020 and online learning and the preparation for students, enabling them to think about their online record book and making smart targets within the award really helps them to have a focus beyond the individual, and rather than just thinking of activities as co-curricular, these activities are more likely to be conducted online. They are more likely to be of quality when we have a certain framework and benchmarking. And definitely, if as a school or organization, we are working with other stakeholders within the community. Of course, athletic pursuit is always a very important element of the award and learning in general. Health and physical health is very much linked to emotional and psychological well-being, and this has been underlined, of course, during this pandemic. Most countries, especially in the UK, have fostered and allowed exercise and time even during the lockdown. So every organization following this framework and the award will undoubtedly know that still having students follow that athletic pursuit and carry on their hours during the pandemic is supporting the students during this pandemic, not only physically that they're still active, but their emotional well-being and overall psyche. So it's been wonderful during this pandemic to see students still following yoga sessions, still following calisthenics sessions that's not only supporting their overall physique and health during this time where they might be less active, but helping them during this very challenging and emotionally stressful time. So right now we can see schools using the platform and the gradated levels of Cambridge with the IYP to offer a variety and expansion of activities, and to make sure that it is of quality that the students can join. And indeed, the pandemic has emphasized this more, and as an organization, we're offering even more sports because we've had to evaluate ourselves and what we can do online. So I think during times of difficulty and challenge, the actual outcomes that you can get can be very positive and push you to expansion. So this threat is actually bringing forward opportunities for ourselves. Of course, the adventurous journey is probably the most well-known, famous, and of course a very important section of the award. One seen as the overall most challenging aspect of the award. During this time, I think it emphasized the great importance of the outdoors, getting outside, the beauty of nature, and in every country what we have a privilege to see. So while in this pandemic we might be in a lockdown situation, it is difficult. The framework of the award allows for a lot of planning. So for example, my students now especially the bronze level and the silver levels, are still planning their journeys, hopefully for in the next terms. So it's allowing the students to focus. It's allowing the students to still plan for their adventurous journey. And I do believe during this threatening time, it has emphasized the importance of the beautiful outdoors and the adventure. So from my communication with our students, they cannot wait to be adventurous again and get outdoors. And I can see from their planning and their smart goals that they're going to have some great adventurous journeys in the future. I believe in a time of difficulty when you have these constraints, it is a time to dwell on what we are missing and dwell on what is really important for us. So nowadays, it's so easy to be gaming and to be online all the time, but you can't be outside. And I see many youngsters, many award participants and learners having a new realization about what they are missing out on and this great social engagement that doing the award allows. So basically, overall, I would say that as a school, during this testing time, the award has allowed the continued curriculum support. That being that it is expanded our offering during this time, that even though we are limited and have the constraints of online, it has allowed us to think about, as an organization, using the framework of the award, how we want to offer different activities. Not only seeing them as co-curricular activities, but seeing them as a support to a very much holistic curriculum, and indeed having expansion beyond what we have. So be it digitally, we are expanding as an organization our connection with stakeholders. And that is not only limited to the high school and the IYP needs, because as an organization, a Cambridge school, I think we can benchmark backwards and have an approach where we disaggregate the benchmarks of the award. For example, we never used to have scouts at SNA. Now we do, because we benchmark the framework back, and this indeed is an activity that is still ongoing even during this pandemic. So having such a wonderful framework, having great guidance for the holistic support for the curriculum has meant that we have actually emphasized more on the EQ as an emotional and social quotient of our learners, because we believe that this is very important to be supportive of these holistic aims during such a time. And we believe that when we return to what might be seen as a new normal, we will have already aligned ourselves with a new, vigorous awareness of how important these elements are to being a great school, a great international school, and being a Cambridge school with a very holistic curriculum.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Stuart. Thank you for such a detailed explanation of all that you're doing in your school right now and you're also looking ahead to doing. Thank you. We're now going to move on to our second school, which is Vibgyor High School, Vadodara. In India, the award is run by a national award operator, so you may again notice references here to the International Award for Young People, or IAYP. We are very lucky to have with us a teacher and award leader, Mrs. Riya Lalwani, and also a student and award participant, 15-year-old Ram Patel. Welcome to you both.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm Mrs. Riya Lalwani from Vibgyor International High School, Vadodara, India. I'm here today to share my experience with IAYP. We started this project last year, and when we started it, it was really a very confused and chaotic problem. The principal actually called me and told me about the project. And the initial stages, I was very much confused as how would I start? Because it was a new concept for me. And I wondered, in this era, would a new concept of taking up the children in this generation into the community service, will it help it out? Will the children accept it? It was very difficult to ask. And it took me 2 months actually to get into it. I was actually not getting into as to how to guide the children. But then we had a team of IAYP training session people, Mr. Bivajit Singh, Miss Pallavi, Miss Kavita, and many of my doubts were cleared. I really now had the confidence in myself that now I could take it up. The moment I started this IAYP project, you won't believe it was very enjoyable. The children loved it. First, they were a bit confused as to how to go. But the best part was our school supported. The management was so supportive that all the activities were conducted in the school itself. The physical recreation activities was conducted in the school during the sports period. Children loved it. The skills, they had so skilled that they themselves weren't aware of. Once they started with cooking, with painting, with other activities, they were, wow, we have these skills in it. Can we do it? And this raised their confidence. They went on and on. What do I talk about community service? This was the best part that the children went through. We took up this activity in our school itself. We conducted it. The children were actually taught that they can teach our ancillaries, our bus drivers, how to read and write English alphabets, how to make an Excel sheet in the computer, about mannerism, about etiquettes, about some different diseases that they were facing. And that time COVID-19 was something which was just started, and they made them aware to these ancillaries. They were so happy. After teaching them, they had that satisfaction and content in themselves, and they thought that can we do this? They were so happy that the other side, even the ancillaries, even the bus drivers too were happy. They were so close knitted to each other that in spite of these activities getting over, still they were in touch with each other. What about adventurous journey? They were very, very scared about it. Mountain climbing, walking through the jungles, making their own meals was not a cup of tea for them. It was very difficult. And I'm pretty sure when they took it up, they had that it would not be easy job for us to come out of the comfort zone and to carry up all these things. But as the project leader, a person came down, he trained them, he showed them how the things have to be done, and we proceeded with it. Trust me, the moment they joined into it, they loved it. They were so happy that white 2 day stay was not enough for it, and they wanted to continue with it for another 2 days. And that is the reason when the sessions got over, they were so happy that they wanted to join into silver levels. But because of this pandemic and this COVID-19 situation, everything was shut down. In India, the schools were shut down in the month of March itself. But I was surprised. I was shocked. These people approached to me that they are ready to go for silver level. And it was wow for me because I never expected. This showed that COVID-19 did not actually hamper us, whether the schools are on or they're off. The children wanted to carry on with the activities, and the whole batch of 22 enrolled into silver level. I loved it. On the other side, I was thinking, will I be able to create a new batch for the bronze? As I have not met the students are new to me. I don't teach them since I teach them 9th, 10th, and 11th grades. So will they be able to take up? But yes, as it's always said, that the mouth of word is something which is the best thing which goes across everywhere. And these children, when I approached them, they were all ready. And I had enrolled around 19 students for bronze level, which was then shared in my school, and everyone was, wow, can this be possible? This showed that COVID-19 did not hit us anything. And yes, Cambridge supported us being a partner of it. They really loved it. And then I had a batch of 19 students. You can see people doing painting, playing guitar, doing exercise. This is something which actually really, I would say, was appreciated by the parents also. They were so happy that, they could make it out. Yes, the children are being grounded. They are learning something. They are very educated to the minor communities. This actually program helped the children to be, docile, very grounded, and they did not have that attitude of yes, we are something. They just had cut down their attitudes. They started loving the people. They came closer to the minor communities, which was something which the parents were shocked to see. And the support that our school management and the parents gives us is immense, very helpful. This is how we are growing up in the IAYP activity. And I'm really thankful to Cambridge to support the IAYP activity. Thank you so much. Now I would like to introduce Ram. He's already cleared the bronze level and now entering into the silver level. And he has started the silver level activities in spite of all this lockdown. Yes, Ram.
Hi everyone, I'm Ram. I had no idea about the IAYP was. I was completely dumbfounded. But one day, my class and I sat down with Rihanna, and she explained everything to us. And I thought to myself, hey, it's not such a bad idea. From that day forward, my life changed, and for the better. I even climbed a mountain, literally, and I did the one thing in my life which seemed boring to me, coin collecting, and I still haven't stopped until then. A major activity we did was community service. When you help someone in need, you get a warm feeling inside your heart. That warm feeling carried me for a long way. What we did in community service was like anything else. We helped the sanitization workers in our school to learn so many more new things. We taught them how to use Microsoft Word, Excel, and even taught them the basics of the coronavirus awareness. We also started a charity fundraiser for the sanitization workers, so not only could they have a better future, but also their children. I consider myself a sportsman, and I have a passion for football. But before IAYP, I only played to win. I didn't care about the game. I was rude to many players, and for that, I was kicked out of the school team. But then, after IAYP, my whole life changed. I started to see the way other people respected the game, and I respected it too, and the players. A few weeks later, after IAYP, I could see a progression in myself. I could see that I turned over a new leaf. This new leaf wasn't only for my grade school years, it was for the rest of my life. We also did skills. The skills are a very enriching component of a student's life. We get to learn many more things that we never learned before. I, for one, took an interest in sewing. Before that, I didn't even know the S of sewing. Now, I can stitch a mitten. I just want to take the time to thank the heads, teachers, and the administration of the IAYP program, because without them, I could have never done the half of the things that I would have done. Thank you.
Thank you to both of you. Thank you to Mrs. Alwani and to Ram. It's lovely to hear how students are motivating themselves and they're motivated to continue even during a pandemic, and how many students are passing on from one to another. Just what a great program it is to be involved in. And it's great to hear firsthand from you, Ram. Thank you very much to hear about how it's inspiring you and how it's making a difference to the way you think about the world and hopefully for your life in the future as well. So thank you very much. Right, finally, we are going to move along our journey west across the world, traveling now some 4,000 miles to Spain. And we are pleased to welcome Mr. Thomas Bauer, Award Coordinator at the British School of Barcelona, Castelldefels. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Great to be here to be part of this. My name is Tom Bauer. I work in the British School of Barcelona in Castelldefels. We have bronze and silver students from year 10 up to year 13. The school is based in Barcelona. I'm a science teacher and I'm also the coordinator for the Duke of Edinburgh Award in our school. The award has given us a real holistic approach, and the increasing mindfulness and well-being of the students has helped their growing confidence. And there's evidence showing us that the mindfulness is linked to increased outcomes later in life, both academically and with their well-being. About 80% of our year 10 students participate in bronze. That's a group of around 80 to 90 students per year. We've got a smaller growing group of students that will take part in silver in both year 11 and year 12. It's quite hard for us to measure the actual impact that the award has on their academic progress, but it really teaches them life skills such as perseverance. It really sort of keeps them going. It helps them see that they can achieve the award. It helps their motivation, both for the more academic and the less academic students. Quite often, the students that struggle academically may well be the first to finish the award in a particular year, and that's great for their confidence and helping them with their school life. One of the skills that students have really had to cope with during COVID is how to change their activities. And the best way of doing this is in some creative way. So in increasing their creativity. How can they continue each of their sections? And so many of our students have changed. This participant's initial SMART target was to be able to lower her 300-meter sprint time by 6 seconds, but that obviously changed. She couldn't go to her training ground anymore, and so she's carried on with maintaining her home fitness using online sessions at home, and she's now completed her physical recreation section whilst we've been in lockdown. It's also been helpful. We've had regular support from the global operation managers of the Duke of Edinburgh's International Award. And I think the main message that I've taken away from that is just to be positive, to find some way to make things work. We can always find problems with things. It's often much more difficult to find a solution. Just be positive. We can make things, can make them work. So many of our students have changed their activities. Probably the biggest hurdle that we had was the loss of regular contact. In school, we would see our participants 2 or 3 times a week, and we'd lost that. Our school's digital provision was changed over to Microsoft Teams. It's been very successful within the school, both for academic learning and also we've created a DofE channel. The biggest impact we had, though, was contacting students individually, sending them individual messages. The downside of this, of course, is it takes the most amount of time. In the last 3 months, many of our year 11 and 12 students who would have begun bronze in year 10 have used the lockdown time to get their ORB up to date. And as a result, we've had a recent surge in award submissions and award approval. Again, taking the positives out of this, students having time to go back and focus on what they're doing. This year 10 student has changed over. She was originally trying to reduce the number of fouls in netball matches, and she changed over to virtual cycling at home as she wasn't able to continue participating in team sports. I asked some of my students what they thought, how they had been helped by continuing with DofE during the pandemic, and they said it gave them motivation. One student said it gave her motivation to continue to practice her skills, her physical activity in her service. She wasn't allowed to go outside. She couldn't do her physical activity, and she carried on doing a daily workout so that she could be fit rather than lying on the sofa. Many of our students have taken to a service recommended by the operation managers. Zooniverse is a very easy way of students giving an hour of service each week, and it's an online people-powered research site. And this particular student, wants to finish silver and as soon as possible carry on working with gold. All of this while we're still in lockdown, so continuing to keep her motivated. Other students have said that continuing with the sport has changed their whole mindset, helped them learn how to keep working for something even though obstacles have been placed in the middle. And different student, they've been given the motivation to keep doing the sport, keep helping me get better, to focus on my work. After the workout, I feel refreshed and the tiredness has gone away. The most difficult section for us to have carried on is the adventurous journey. Indeed, we had our practiced bronze expedition cancelled the day that our lockdown started back in March. And so this has been the hardest part for many of our students to continue to remain engaged with. But I think the balance provided by all of the other activities has helped them to continue. And when we get back to school, hopefully in September, they'll be in a good position to continue. Those students that have missed out on their adventurous journey will be able to reschedule those in the autumn. And I think a particular thanks to the changes that have been allowed by the DofE this year, so that we can use the practice AJ as their assessed AJ. In particular, for students either who are leaving the school, we can still get them passed if they're moving on somewhere else. Students that want to be moving on to silver, and the main difficulty for us is we'll have another 100 bronze students wanting to start in September, and for the adventurous journeys that would have been cancelled, logistically, it would have just been too difficult. Many students wanting to carry on. Since COVID, we've had students that have moved on from bronze to silver, students that want to move on from silver to gold. So they want to continue even in these challenging situations and the challenges that lockdown has given, but knowing that at some point this will pass and we can get back to a more regular way of being. Next year, we're looking forward. We're talking with our tutors, with our award leaders, with our senior leadership team to see exactly how we're going to run the award in the autumn. We don't know at the moment, particularly for the adventurous journeys. There is still legislation that we're not aware of, how many of our students will be back in school. But once we know, we'll then be in a position where we can move forward. So thank you for allowing me to participate, to share some of our experiences over the last few weeks. Many thanks.
Great, thank you, Tom. Thank you for sharing all of that. It's so lovely to hear such positivity, adaptability, and the ways that you and your students are seeking solutions for what to do throughout this time, and again, looking ahead too. So thank you very much. Thank you to all 4 of our guests who have contributed to this webinar. We wish you well as you continue with all aspects of education, both formal and non-formal, at this uncertain time. If you're interested in learning more about the International Award or about the ways in which Cambridge International is working with colleagues at the Foundation, please follow the link that you can see on your screen. Thank you for listening and keep safe.